Hello, hi. My name is Dominique Duarte, and this is Southern Girl in the City. I live in Brooklyn, New York, and I'm a singer actor. Um, this week has been really just a lot of work, a lot of hard work. I worked 62 hours this week between my full-time job and my part-time job. Um, I'm just really tired, to be honest. When I got the job at Tribeca Rooftop, I was anticipating that I was going to be put on weekends, but for some reason, they were putting me after work during the week. I'll take it, but it is interesting because I thought I was going to get more weekend shifts. And ever since I worked at Tribeca for the last 3 weeks, while I was working this full time job at the school, I have been scheduled for hours after work. So I work 8 to 3 at the school, and then I walk sometimes. I just go on a walk to the Tribeca rooftop because it's in walking distance. It's like a 40-minute walk from where I work. So I just walk. I think the last day I took the train because I was just like it physically. I'm starting to feel the workload. Um, so I will work at Tribeca from 4:30 or 5 until 11 or midnight, 12:30. Depending on the day. Yesterday I didn't really do anything because I was just tired. Because I worked 62 hours Monday through Friday. So it wasn't like I worked 62 hours over a course of 7 days. I really worked 62 hours over the course of 5 days. Um, and I would get off at 11, 12 o'clock, 12:30, and then have to be at work at 8 a.m. So it was a very intense week physically. I also had just left an audition for a church choir. I have been on the fence about singing with church choirs pretty much my entire adult life, mainly because, well, I used to feel like I didn't know if I felt comfortable getting paid for singing in the church because I'm like, as a Christian, am I supposed to just serve the Lord and not get paid for it? Um, there's that, but then also there's the little conundrum of me just not being a strong sight reader, and that has been a my Achilles heel as a musician vocalist since I can remember. Um, I was telling him at the end, I was like, I feel like I'm an imposter when it comes to being a vocalist because I struggle with sight reading. I always have. Um, I've been able to read music because sight reading is not the same thing as reading music. Reading music is knowing what the notes say on the page, knowing what the rhythms are and everything. But sight reading is getting a new piece of music and being able to sing it on the spot. I cannot believe I'm going to be 35 next month and I still struggle with sight reading. It is funny because in college I worked so hard on sight reading. Like all I ever did was practice sight reading because I knew it was a weakness then, and I tried so hard to become a better sight reader in college, and I improved. But you could say the same thing about dance class. I have taken so many dance classes over the years, and I'm still not good at dance. No matter how many classes I take, I'm just not a good dancer. And I feel the same with sight reading. Like, sight reading has always been something that I just was weak at. And I get frustrated with myself because I'm just like, Dominique, have a music degree. How is it that you can't do this? One thing that is really important to being a musician, sight reading. It's not that I can't do it, it's just it's significantly weaker than my vocal ability. So like he was really impressed with my voice, but very disappointed, I'm sure, with my sight reading. And it's just like, here's the thing. So when I applied for this, it said soprano sub or alto section leader. They were looking for soprano sub or an alto section leader. I went on and applied for both positions. But to be honest, I should have only done soprano sub. Why? Because I just realized that I'm not used to reading the alto line in sight reading. Like, I don't think I've ever had to sight read the alto line. I've always sight read the soprano. So even though I'm a weak sight reader, I was really weak when I had to do the alto line because I'm not used to doing the alto line. Like, I'm not just not being able to read it, I legitimately am so used to just looking at the top note. That's all I ever do is look at the top note when I'm reading music. So, me having to look in the middle is something I'm just not used to doing. So, I thought, oh, well maybe I can probably sing the alto music because a lot of that choral music is already kind of high. So even for an alto, it's still up there. But I mean, there were points. I feel bad, but like there were points where he was singing it and I was not matching what he was singing, and like I just don't know. Like I just feel like I get in my head a lot when I have to sight read. Like, and even the simplest things become so much more difficult for me in the moment. It just feels like it's too much. And then he was also asking me to like not sing with vibrato. And for some reason, this is another issue. I cannot seem to get rid of my vibrato. Um, I also haven't been in vocal lessons in a really long time. In my adult life, I've hardly taken vocal lessons because I can't afford them, honestly. Um, I took them more consistently in Tennessee. When I moved back home from college and I was in Tennessee, I took more vocal lessons. When I went to AMDA, I took vocal lessons. And then I took a few lessons after AMDA with my voice teacher. I still have a vocal coach and a voice teacher, but I never see them because I can't afford them. I mean, this was something that kind of was mentioned by our professors when we were in college, was that it was going to be really hard for you to keep up your vocal lessons and stuff because once you become an adult, you have to live your life and you just don't have the time or the money to do the vocal lessons anymore. Um, and I think that if I was in vocal lessons, maybe we could work on me trying to get rid of the vibrato. But it's ironic because when I was in school, my voice teacher, not Dr. Baker, but Miss Johnson Knight, my freshman year, she was saying to me that I needed to put vibrato in my singing. And so I naturally had a straight tone voice before college. And then ever since I studied voice, I cannot get rid of my vibrato. Like it's really hard. Like I had to focus hard to not sing with vibrato. And it's frustrating because it's like I don't want to always sing vibrato, but it's just what is. Because I studied it for 4 years. And it's like I'll never get the voice back that I had before I went to college. I mean, on one hand, I'm grateful for every vocal lesson I had with Miss Johnson Knight and Dr. Baker. I mean, they taught me well, but also, because I mean, I booked a lot of opportunities and I wouldn't have booked those if I hadn't had vocal lessons. But in a church choir setting, a lot of the times, or just a choir setting, they just want you to be straight. And I don't know. I mean, there were a couple of times I was able to do that today without vibrato, but it takes so much focus and concentration. Um, I don't know. I just find it interesting that the one thing that I naturally had before college, I cannot go back to when I sang without vibrato. And now it's like I have it, but I can't get rid of it, even when I want to. um, I think some of it is because I didn't continue lessons after college. So then maybe if I had continued lessons more consistently, then maybe I could have worked on both, worked on improving my classical, but also work on my pop, more contemporary sound. Um, but that's a catch too because some teachers don't work on both. But I think my current voice teacher, who I have not seen in a really long time because I just cannot afford to take her lessons from her. But if I ever resume lessons, I will continue to take with her because she does teach classical as well as musical theater. Um, but I could also watch more YouTube videos, I guess, about singing. But I just feel like I haven't mastered anything. Like, I'm a good singer, but I could be better. I'm a good teacher sometimes, but I could be better. Um, I'm good with connecting with the kids, but I struggle to handle the workload sometimes because it's just so much. The teacher has to do so much. And then I I love musical theater, but no matter how many dance classes I take, I'm still weak when it comes to learning dance quickly. Um, and then there's this where it's like I have an amazing voice, but then I struggle so much with sight reading. I am. I just I feel kind of frustrated. Guess I'm supposed to be interviewing to be a music teacher next week at this charter school, and it's like I realize I haven't been a music teacher full time since 2014, 2015 when I worked at Florida, Kansas. And then I worked at a Montessori school. So I haven't done music teaching in a really long time. Um, I don't know why the sight reading thing gets to me so much. I guess because it's like, dang, how is it you're still struggling with this so many years? I wasn't really required to sight read to do most of the professional jobs I've done. So when I perform in musical theater, I don't have to sight read. Um, I actually told this person today that the first role that I booked out of college that was professional at um one of the first roles I got was because I was really, really, really prepared. I know that I'm not a strong sight reader, so I try to be as prepared as I can be. Um, because I just know. But I mean, the music director at my church, Bethany, he would tell me, he's like, Dominique, just take the hymnals and just practice them. And I think in college I probably would have been more consistent with it, but as an adult, I've just been so preoccupied with so many different things that it's just like sight reading just has not been on the top of the list. I feel like a lot of times I'm just kind of in survival mode and I'm trying to just get day to day. So, I don't know. It's just, I could maybe work on it 15 minutes a day to try to improve on it. But it's definitely been part of the reason why I haven't been as adamant about getting a church job as an adult. So I've sung in a lot of churches. I've sung in Episcopal, I've sung at Catholic churches, I've sung at Presbyterian, Methodist, Baptist. I've sung at everything. Um, but one of the things I do is I come prepared because I know sight reading is not a strength of mine. So when I was singing at Bethany, a lot of the times it was a lot of hymns that I did not know, but she gave me the program a few days prior, so I would work on it. on Friday and Saturday, so that on Sunday I knew it. Because I just know I have to be prepared. I have to be super prepared because sight reading is just a struggle, and also it's a skill that I haven't had to use I very much. Because when I went on the choir tour last year with Cornerstone Chorale and Brass, he sent us the music in the mail. So I worked on that music for 2 to 3 weeks before we started rehearsals. And then once we were there, he gave us the interludes and he gave us the opening and the closing of the pieces of the performance that he wrote. That we got once we got at rehearsal. But he sent us all the music ahead of time. So I'm like, every professional job that I've had has not required me to sight read. It has required me to be prepared and to know my material, which I try to do because I just know, well, one, it's professional. You come in, you know your material. But sight reading is something that is really emphasized a lot in college, high school, and then it's ironic because I've had a professional career and I haven't really had sight read. The only time it ever comes up is whenever I'm auditioning for like a church choir job. And it's why I kind of avoid it because I don't want to be embarrassed and I don't want to feel like I'm an imposter musician because I struggle with sight reading. And I do feel like black people, we be coming in at a disadvantage because when I was in college, all my white peers, a lot of them had played piano growing up. They played guitar. They have been sight reading most of their life. And I came in at 18 and I had not. I mean, high school choir, I remember we would do a little bit of sight reading, but I was not strong at it then either. And it still wasn't consistent enough, that the practice. And then when I went to college, it was just like, I don't know how to sight, I don't know how to do this. And I remember auditing oral skills the entire first year because what would happen is I would do well on the vocal stuff, but when we had to do the dictation, the musical dictation, I failed every time. And so my grade was averaging to a C because at that point, because I would do well when we had to sing the material, but when we had to, which was ironic because there were some instrumentalists, I was mind boggled, who, when we would have to sing the scale, struggled to stay on pitch. Like, struggled to sing a scale. I was mind boggled. But do you know those instrumentalists could do that melodic dictation like it was nothing? And to me, melodic dictation is basically where you play the piano, the teacher plays the piano, and you have to dictate every note that she's playing just by hearing it. And the instrumental majors or the vocal majors who had instrumental experience, they were able to do it like nobody's business. And I'm over here like, what? How are y'all doing that? Like, I can't do that. But then we would have to sing a scale, and then some of them couldn't do that. I was mind boggled. I was like, instrumentalists? Really? But some of them did great on the scale, but some of them really did struggle to sing a scale, and I was mind boggled because I was like, y'all can do this hard melodic dictation, but you can't sing a scale? But I guess because their ear, I don't know. Like, that was just mind boggling to me. But they probably would think it was mind boggling that I was struggling with melodic dictation. So I guess it's tit for tat. Um, because I don't think I ever had heard anyone not be able to sing a scale. Like, I was mind boggled. Like, and it wasn't something that I commented on out loud, but it was something in my mind where I was like, oh my gosh, y'all are really struggling with this. Like, but I mean, I guess the same thing with me. I was struggling too. So I wasn't struggling to sing a scale, but I was struggling to sight read. I was struggling to do melodic dictation, which they were beating my tail at. So Hey, I don't know. Um, I just always thought that if you put in a lot of effort on something that you would just be better at it. And it's like, well, I am better because when he asked me to sight read, it was better than it was 10 years ago. Um, but once he asked me to do the alto line, I was kind of struggling. And it's not because the alto line is hard, it's because my brain is not used to looking at this line. My brain is used to looking at the top line. So even when he was singing the alto line, I'm still singing the melody because that's all I've ever sung is melody. It, either that or second soprano, which apparently my voice teacher, Miss Johnson Knight, said that when I said I sang second soprano in concert choir at Murray, she was like, "Oh yeah, that usually means you're a good sight reader," and I was like, "I'm not a good sight reader." Um, but ironically enough, I have always been second soprano most of the time. I'm singing second. But I am not a good sight reader. Still at 34, going on 35 in a few weeks. I struggle with it. I don't, and I didn't mean to get upset, like, but it's just like it seems like something so small to get upset about, but it's like you have no idea how much trauma it was being in college and struggling so much with learning my music, struggling so much all the time. And then people will get so frustrated with me for lacking confidence. And it's like, how can I be confident when I know that I struggle with sight reading? When I know that I struggle with melodic dictation? When I know that I don't have the knowledge to learn the music in the same way as my peers? Now I can honestly say I have the tools to learn the music. I know I can learn a song. I can learn the rhythms. I can learn the song. I just recorded a song the other day for an audition and I learned that within a few days. So I know that that skill has completely changed. In college, I really struggled to learn music, but now I know I can learn music fine. The issue still sight reading, which, to be frank, is only a thing in a church choir setting. Because I'm like, any professional job that I have done, I did not need to sight read. I needed to know my material before I came to rehearsal. So I needed to know my stuff. But as far as sight reading goes, it only comes up for church choirs. And a lot of people will question me, being like, well, why don't you have a church choir job? Why don't you try that? And I'm like, child, I anybody knows that um you have to be a really good sight reader to be a section leader in a choir. Because a lot of the times the paid position is the section leader. I think I could be a good section leader because I've worked with kids, but I know I have to know the material. I have to prepare the material ahead of time. I'm not gonna be a girl who's gonna sight read a piece of music at the last minute. You're asking for madness. Because I just, and it's not that, and it's also, it's like it's a muscle. If you're not using it, then it doesn't get improved. And I just haven't used it because I haven't needed to. Um, when I sang at Bethany for the 3 years I was singing with them consistently, that was not a paid job. That was my church that I was a member of, and I was being asked to sing solos more than anything. But when I would learn those songs. I was always learning the song beforehand because I knew I wasn't gonna be able to sight read it. And I know that the music director, love him, Sterling, he would definitely get on to me about the fact that I wasn't a strong sight reader, um, or that my rhythms were not always spot on. I was like, I know sometimes the rhythms are not always as strong as they could be. Um, and then two, when I have to sight read in front of someone and I know it's something I'm not strong at, on top of the fact that I feel this pressure that I must be amazing at this to be a real musician or a real music major, a person with a degree. Um, I think I also do worse because I'm getting in my head and I'm just like, not, I can't. It just causes a lot of anxiety, I think, when I have to sight read because it just like it's traumatic as fudge for me. Like, and I don't know how to fix it because I mean, I guess the best thing I can do is practice 15 minutes a day so that at least at 45, I'm a better sight reader than I am at 34. And had it been something that I was more necessary in my professional career, I feel like I would have put more effort. But I've been putting effort towards auditions, preparing for the auditions, knowing the material when I do book the job, and then showing up and being prepared because that's what I can offer you. I know I can be prepared. I know I can learn my material. I know I can learn my music. Um I think sometimes at Bethany it was a little bit shorter preparation time for me. So sometimes I would come in and like I said the rhythms might not have been as strong, but it's probably because too I had less time to prepare. Compared to when I book a contract and I have to prepare the music ahead of time and then during rehearsal we're working on it because after you have been in rehearsal, I mean even just last year when I went on the choir tour, we rehearsed all day for 5 days. And so I worked on that music for 3 weeks on my own, and then when we went in rehearsal we worked on it. So by the time we performed it, it was here. But in the I don't know. I just tangents. But I don't know, like everybody has their strengths and their weaknesses. Obviously my strength is my vocal ability. My strength is my level of preparation because I know that um I have to overcompensate for the fact that I know I'm not a good sight reader. And no matter how hard I work in college, I still struggle with it now. It's just not a strength of mine. Like, and it's frustrating to me because I feel like, well, you're just not a real musician if you can't sight read. And it's just like it's not that I can't, but I definitely wish I was better at it. Um, but I noticed that a lot of black people do tend to be weaker in that area because unless they study piano, like Sterling, the music director at Bethany, unless they studied it at a young age, you're at a disadvantage. Because I came into college, all my peers, almost every single one of them, was a good sight reader. And I'm the one in the room who can't do it. And that was where the lack of confidence really came from too. I already was a person who lacked confidence, but put me in a room full of people who are excelling at this and I'm struggling at this, and I feel like I know that I'm at a disadvantage. And cuz I mean even Daniel, like Daniel and I studied at Murray State and Daniel was black, but Daniel had been singing in his church choir, and their church choir had been singing with hymnals and they had been singing with sheet music because the girl or a woman now who he grew up with, him and her and her sisters all took piano lessons, so they all had a foundation that a lot of black peeps wouldn't have, which is strong sight reading skills. She to this day is the music director at that church and she is a really good sight reader. We are capable of being strong musicians as black people, but a lot of the times we are at a disadvantage. A lot of us don't know how to read music at all. And then some of us who do know are not always the best sight readers. Um I took my education very seriously and I really did study hard, but college basically taught me how to be better prepared. In it taught me how to be prepared. So when I get a job and I book something, I know how to be prepared because I learned that from high school, really, a little bit of high school and college. Sight reading just wasn't something I needed to do in my adult life as much as I thought I was going to. Ironically enough, I feel so shameful about it, but it's like, when do you have to sight read, Dominique? Most of the time, you don't. And if it's something you're not doing consistently, then how are you going to be able to work on it when you don't? Like in the last year, I haven't really been singing except for when I went on tour. Um, and when I went on tour, I learned that material ahead of time. Um, so yeah, I think there's always just this little bit of imposter syndrome that happens with me when it comes to being a musician or being having a music degree, because sometimes I feel like I'm just not good at it. I'm not a good enough musician. I feel like I should be better, and it's just like I can be better, and I am better than I was because I did sight read what he showed me, but I just, the lack of confidence is just womp 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 womp. Um, I don't know. I would just suggest that maybe more parents of color, particularly black parents, expose their kids to music early. It's even if they're singers, like just expose them to it because um music may seem like, oh, well, I don't want my kid to just only focus on being a musician. That's not it. Because currently the girl that was Daniel's music director at his church, a woman, I'm sorry, she had a regular full-time job as a court reporter, but she still uses her skills in the church. So I'm like, by exposing your kids to more things, it it does make them maybe feel a little more confident in those settings, because I felt like a complete dum dum most of the time in college because like everything was just so far over my head. Um because I wasn't exposed to the music. And like my mom is a singer, but she doesn't read music. Um and never did. So you don't have to be able to read music, but it does help you be more confident if you know how. And one thing I was grateful for was I did know how to read music coming into college. I knew how to read it. I just didn't know how to learn the material quickly. And I also struggled with sight reading when I would be asked to sing something that I'd never seen before and I had to sing it on the spot. And one thing that always perplexed me about sight reading was I felt like if you were an instrumentalist, sight reading was easier because you're just playing the notes on the instrument that you're already proficient on. But when you're sight reading as a singer, you have to match all of these pitches in your head. Like they have to be matched. You just have to, they have to come out of you. And it's just like, it used to mind boggle me because I'm like, how the heck am I going to get these notes to come out when I'm not an actual instrument. I mean, they call the voice an instrument, but I'm not an instrument, and I cannot just play a note on my voice to get it to come out. Um, you have to be able to audiate it in your head and then sing it. But I have the tools to be able to practice it more. I think at this point it's just a lack of exposure. It's not because I can't. It's just because I really haven't been singing very much this year. I probably sang the least this year that I have sung in a while. Um in 2024, if it wasn't for an audition or the fire ensemble, I really wasn't singing. And the fire ensemble is more by ear. It's not sheet music. So part of me kind of wanted to get a church job so that I could, one, maybe get some extra income, but also work on my sight reading. But I don't know. So I think more than likely I'll probably be the soprano sub. And maybe being a soprano sub will also help me be able to work on my sight reading skills. I just can't believe it's still something that I'm insecure about at this age, but I am, unfortunately. Like, um, I just insecure about a lot of things because I feel like I never became the best vocalist I could be. Like, I'm good, but I could be better. If I had been more consistent about taking vocal lessons, if I had been more consistent about, working on my sight reading skills, really becoming a well rounded musician, I feel like maybe I have more confidence. But it's just really hard because I know that I'm not as strong as I could be. I and I don't know how to fix it because that means taking lessons and I can't afford them. It means taking time out of my schedule to work on the hymns in the hymnal, or I don't even have a hymnal anymore. I just realized that I gave them all back to the church that I was singing at before because I used to have them in my apartment. Um, but I need to like practice hymns or something so that I can get more practice with sight reading. But as an adult, you just really don't have the time to devote to things. Um, I want to be I just want to be the best that I can be at what I do. And I feel like it's like I'm getting to a certain point and just not hitting my highest potential. Like vocally, I definitely know I'm not hitting my highest potential. I could be better. Um, Acting wise, I could be better. Being a teacher, I could be better at handling the stress of the job. And for some reason, it has triggered me every time. Um, I seem to be pretty good at customer service. Um, but a lot of the times it's not the most stimulating. So, yeah. Um, yeah, parents just expose their kids to music early. I know just just them having some type of exposure to music, um, reading it, sight reading it, learning an instrument, it just helps build confidence. Um, and if they don't have early exposure to it, it just really makes it harder for you when you get older. um, because there's always, I mean, even if you don't want your kid to be a musician as an adult, I mean, they can still use that skill to make extra money by working at a church or something. Like, it's possible. Um, But yeah, that's pretty much this week. It was just working, 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 going to this church choir audition that I almost didn't go to because I was supposed to go to another one a month ago and I didn't go. I just canceled it because I feel like I know that I'm not up to par with where they would like you to be as a sight reader, and I just don't really have the time to practice it either. I just worked 62 hours this week. So, yeah. Yay. Um I hope that you have a lovely week. And this has been Southern Girl in the City. Bye.